If your ears were burning on Wednesday, I was talking about you.
You were.
I went and got my oil changed.
Okay.
And I said, how much do you charge for rodent removal? Because I have a mouse in my truck.
Oh, no.
And they said, no, we don't remove rodents or snakes. And I said, oh, you mean you wouldn't do that for the sheriff? He's like, sheriff has a gun. He can take care of that.
Take care of those snakes yourself, right? Well, good morning. How are you this morning?
Good morning. I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing well. We have just been extremely busy this week.
Is that in a good way or not so good way?
Well, it's good for us because we have a job to do, but I guess it's bad for the community a lot of times when we're extremely busy. But we had Superior Court week this week and had multiple courts going on and a lot of searches, a lot of different things happening this week. And we'll talk about numbers a little bit today if you want to, but just a few things that's been happening. We've got some press releases coming out later today that we're going to try to get out, but just kind of let people know what we're doing. Our narcotics unit yesterday, they were doing some surveillance and done a traffic stop yesterday that netted 121 grams of methamphetamine, which is a huge amount. It only takes 28 grams to make trafficking, and they found 121 grams yesterday out of that search they did on that traffic stop. A lot of these searches are being found by our canine units that we've got out working now. We've got several that's out, and they're doing great jobs, and we've got 2 on night shift and 1 on day shift, and they're just finding all kind of drugs that are out there. If you think about that, from the people ask 121 grams, I was talking to the commissioners last night, they said, how much is that? And kind of describing it so people understand what we're talking about. If you think about a sweet and low packet of sugar, if you think about those, the sweet and low packets, that's 1 gram. It's 1 gram of sweet and low. Mm-hmm. And so the typical average user, if you're just a casual user, not really addicted strongly to it, you can get about 10 uses out of that gram. About 1/10 of a gram is what they use when they use methamphetamine. So a gram of sweet and low, you can get about 10 uses out of it. Well, it takes 28 of those packets to get trafficking level, which is 1 ounce. And so that's approximately 280 uses of that dosage units that you can get. This was 121 grams, so that's 121 sweet and low packets, and that would put you somewhere around 5 ounces or so of methamphetamine. So it's quite a bit, and if you was keeping that all to yourself, that would be about a year's supply for yourself. But like I say, they're out and they're working, and some other things that's been going on too is like, for example, one of our other canine units last night was up in Peachtree area and was helping with the highway patrol up there on some road checks, and a car come through that he recognized had warrants on them. One of our deputies recognized they had warrants, so they pulled them off to the side and utilized the canine there to search the vehicle, and found that he had felony amounts of marijuana seeds and paraphernalia and stuff in the vehicle. But that's not the big thing. The big thing was that upon searching the vehicle and seizing the drugs that was alerted by the canine unit, they also found stolen property in that vehicle and was able to solve some breaking and enterings that occurred.
Wow.
So we were able to recover some stolen property from that, solve some breaking and enterings. Our investigators was out yesterday and day before yesterday and recovered some stolen vehicles and scooters and some different things from other breaking and enterings and other larcenies. So we've recovered quite a bit of property this week from breaking and enterings, and solved quite a bit of the breaking and enterings we have. And also, they assisted Murphy Police Department yesterday on a search warrant up on the Vengeance Creek area. When they went up there, they found a quantity of drugs there at that house, recovered some stolen property there at that house. And then last night, we was out till midnight last night searching a house over in Marks Creek where we found methamphetamine and the indoor marijuana grow. And
wow.
Okay, so
we've been real busy.
We have been really busy the last few days and trying to clean some of this stuff up around here. And like I say, some of those press releases will be coming out later, so we get a little bit more detail about that, about who and what, and who was arrested, and bonds, and all those kind of things. But Go ahead.
Are a lot of the breaking and entering actually related to the drugs?
I think it's all related. I think it all correlates with each other.
They're trying to get
money, and a lot of times they trade. They don't necessarily take it and pawn it or sell it, but sometimes they actually trade the property itself for drugs. The house on Martins Creek last night that we searched, that we found drugs and stolen property there. We also found some evidence there that connected them to another reported breaking and entering we had in the Hanging Dog area, where there was some property down there stolen, and we found some of the prescription medication from that house in this house. So, like I say, when we do that, we can actually tie some of these breaking and enters together and charge people with some of the stuff that's going on. So we've been very successful in the past little bit about that. Talking about breaking and enters, for example, I shared with Tim the last few weeks that we've been on here about breaking and enters were a little bit lower than they were in the past. We saw over the last few years our crime rate growing on breaking and enters. We went from about 265 or so breaking and enters in 2013 to about 350 in 2016. But I pulled the numbers this morning and looked at it. Our trend is actually dropping, that we've hopefully peaked out, and now we're getting less breaking and enters by arresting some of these people and putting them in jail. We're actually, from where we were this time last year, we're actually about 35 or so breaking and enters less this year than we were last year. Last year at this time, we were at 143 breaking and enters. This year we're at 108, 109 this year. So we're actually a little bit less this year than we have been in years past. So we hope that trend continues, and as we arrest people and put them in jail and charge people with this stuff, hopefully we can keep that trend coming down where breaking and enters are getting fewer and fewer. And I'm anxious every month when I run my reports. That's the one thing I check every month, see where we're at on our breaking and enters, because that's kind of an indicator of what else is happening out there. If your breaking and enters are going up real high and skyrocketing, then you know that you have a lot of other drug activity and different things in the area that you may not be aware of. But when you start seeing a lot of that stuff coming down, then you know it all correlates together. So, but talk about numbers, for example. We are the first 5 months, January through May of this year. We are currently our patrol units have handled 17,369 calls already this year. And that is more than there was for the entire year in 2013.
Holy cow.
In 2013, there was actually 2014 also, when I first took over. In 2014, there were 16,843 calls for the entire year. And this year, we've already passed that. We're at 17,369 for the year. Our calls for service in 15 was about 27,000, and 2016 went to about 30,000. Well, I looked at this trend and kind of tried to do some averages and things. That's averaging out so far this year about 3,474 calls a month. 3,474 is about what our officers are handling every month. And if that continues throughout the year, if that same rate continues, we're projecting in 2017 to handle about 41,000 calls this year. And so that would be...
That doesn't even count that little time in August that we've been discussing.
No, that don't even count what's coming with the eclipse. We'll discuss that later on here too. But realistically, I don't think we'll reach 40,000. I think we'll probably be more likely in the 35,000 range, somewhere along in there. But if this trend continues, we'll break 40,000 this year, calls that the deputies respond to. And that, even though that number in itself is staggering, I think what people don't realize about that is the fact of that most days and nights we have about 4 at a time out, And so for 4 guys or ladies at a time handling about 3,400 calls a month, that's quite a bit of calls that they're out here answering and responding to.
Responses.
Yes. And I know that people get frustrated sometimes when they call and they may have a break and entering, or they may have a mailbox vandalism or something that happened. Sometimes they get frustrated when they call and the report's not been written yet, or we can't find it right now and we're having to look for it. Sometimes that gets frustrating, but when you have an officer that's just worked a 12-hour shift and he's handled probably 20, 30 calls for that shift and writing reports on everything, sometimes they don't get done by the end of the shift. Sometimes it takes the next day to get them done, or a day or two after. So, we just ask for people to remember that, keep it in their mind, as you're asking for these reports and stuff. And we've tried to streamline a lot of things by putting the in-car computers in the cars where they can do reports from the cars itself, don't have to drive back to the office to do them, where they can put their own case notes in and things of that nature. And so that's really streamlined things and helped. I was riding down the road yesterday, and I heard them dispatch a deputy to a call to give him the address, and I heard him say, I'm already en route. I saw that pop up on CAD. So he had already saw it pop up on his computer screen and was already en route before the dispatch ever told him about the call or sent him. So that's actually cutting down on response times, and it's cutting down on a lot of things out there. So we're real proud of what they're doing. We're proud of what's happening out there, and we just continue to try to work hard and do the best job we can do. As you know, we are in finishing up our budget time of getting our budget together for the next year, and we're pretty much kept the budget about the same where it has been. We've increased personnel just a little bit. We've asked for an extra bailiff position and trying to get a full-time bailiff position, and up until this point, we've kind of filled the bailiffs with part-time help, retired officers and things, but and it may change this year, but up until now with Obamacare and the different guidelines that are out there, you can only work so many hours a year and so many a week. And so they couldn't go over that because of putting their retirement in jeopardy and all these other things. So what was happening is about this time of year, about April, May, June, we start running out of hours and officers can't work. And so we're kind of stuck for a few months until the new budget can roll around. Yeah. So that's why we went back and asked for full-time positions for these bailiffs. And the way the court calendar is working now, we're just about have court every day. I mean, it's just about every day we've got court. Sometimes we have multiple courts during the day. Sometimes we have two courts going on at the same time. I know there was one Friday that in two courtrooms, they run 5 different courts in 2 courtrooms throughout the course of the day. So just trying to get things caught up and trying to get things done. So last week we had an incident there at the courthouse where, or it may have been this week. It's all running together to me now at this point. But we had an incident at the courthouse where we had 2 bailiffs, one in each courtroom. Actually, we had 3 bailiffs, had 2 in one courtroom, 1 in another. Had a guy working the door, our guy that works the metal detector. And then we had a fight on the sidewalk, had one in the courthouse, had several in the rotunda, into it, different. So these officers are not able to leave the courtroom. They can't leave the courtroom, leave the judge there unprotected.
Right.
And so we're having to call extra people in and having to bring people off the street to try to handle this stuff. So we're trying to figure out what we can do to keep courtroom safety and courtroom security there, and so we can protect the people at the courthouse on those bad days when we have multiple courts going on. So hopefully with the full-time position that'll help us keep people dedicated there. And on days that we're not having court, those people that's in the full-time positions can come out and do civil process, answer calls, do other things. So there's very few days we don't have court, but there are days we don't have it. So so even on those days, they can help out and do other things to kind of pull the slack up at the sheriff's office. So we can't prepare for everything, but we're trying our best to try to plan for the future and what's out there.
Well, the Memorial Day holiday, there wasn't court, but holy moly, was town busy.
It was.
It was. We had, and you can't go anywhere in the county right now and not see, dozens of different states.
Right.
License plates.
Yeah.
It's not just Florida, Georgia, and Tennessee that you're seeing.
I see things. I've been seeing a lot of like New York, New Jersey, Illinois. I've saw. Of course, you see them quite often in different places, but I mean, you see a lot of like Arizona and California, and a lot of people all over the United States coming through the area now, and a lot of them turn right when they get to Casino intersection and go up there.
Some of them don't,
and some of them don't. Some of them go on through.
Some of them keep on going, and they head up to Nantahala.
Right. And we have a lot to offer here, and a lot of people come to our area, especially in the summertime, just to take advantage of the area, and the beauty and the lakes and the hiking and all the different things that are here. So We do quite often see people from other states and other places, but that's becoming more and more. Back in 96 when I started, I think that I don't know what the call volume would be for that year, but I'd say it would probably be about 7,000 calls for the year or something like that. Not that many. And but I can remember back then when we responded to calls, when we had a domestic or we had something happening, we pretty much knew before we went who it was, who the family, and kind of what they were going to act like when we got there, and whether it's going to be a fight or not. And we kind of had preparation before we ever got to where we're going. But it seems like more and more today on responding to calls, 95% of the people we deal with, we never dealt with before. We don't know them.
They're not from here.
They're not from here. We don't have a history with them, and so we're running that more and more of not knowing what to expect. So because of that, because that's the kind of environment we live in now, that requires a lot more training. That requires keeping your officers' certifications up to date, and it requires keeping their in service and their training even more than it was then, just to keep them on their toes and keep them prepared for the unexpected that's out there that they didn't have to face years ago.
Right.
Yeah. But we are, like I say, we've got a lot of stuff going on. Drugs is still an issue. It's still a problem. But don't lose heart on the fact that it's Cherokee County, because it's all over. It's everywhere.
It is.
And it's we went up to Andrews and did our drug talk up there and had a community meeting up there in Andrews. And that's one of the things we're trying to share with the people there, that it's not just an Andrews issue. It's not just a Cherokee County issue. But every county around us, every state around us, every state in the nation is facing the same issues or problems. I can go to a conference out west. I can go into California or Nevada or Oregon and go to a sheriff's conference, and they're talking about the same things out there that we're talking about here, and seeing the same things there that we're seeing here. And used to, we were kind of protected in our little rural communities, but not anymore. It's just as bad here as it is anywhere else. And so we have to look for different solutions. We have to look for different things to try to combat those problems that are out there. And I keep going back to this, and I'll mention it again. I've got a meeting here in a few weeks with some community leaders, but on the user end of it, on the addictive end of it, we're not accomplishing anything by just simply arresting people and putting them in jail and turning them back on the street without any kind of help, without any kind of services, without anything to help those people. We have other places that stepped up, and we've got VIA, we've got Appalachian Counseling, we've got a new clinic that opened just across the line over in Clay County to kind of help people get off drugs and alcohol, and we've got Christian Love, and we've got all these resources that are out there. But I think one of the things that we've done in the past that we need to change is we have all these resources spread out in different areas, and we expect the people to go to them.
Right.
And I think that, there's a principle in the Bible that God teaches us, says go to where they're at. Right. and go to where, go ye where they're at, and help and compel them to come in. And so I think the treatment aspect is kind of the same way. I think if we kind of just sat back with our treatment centers and just kind of expect people to show up and come, we'll service some people, but we're not going to make an impact. We need to develop programs and things that'll go to where the people are, and give them the help where they are. And unfortunately, one of the places where the people are is jail. And so we need to come up with resources and things and even packets that we can give people to say, okay, here's things we can do to help you. Here's the things we can offer you. Here's treatment centers. Here's these things. We can't make them take it. We can't make them change. We can't make them get clean. But the least we can do is go where they're at and offer them the resources and stuff there to give them a fair chance on getting back into life. And it all comes back to relationships and investing into people. And we need to try to invest into people. And, I use the illustration, and I think I shared this with Tim, but I used the illustration in that meeting that how many of us, and I'm as guilty as anybody else, I'm not pointing the finger at anybody, I'm just as guilty as they are, but how many times do we go to church on Sunday morning, have a worship service, listen to the preacher preach, and have good singing and just have a good time, but we leave to go eat lunch, and we pass people on the street who are hungry, we pass people who are hurting, we pass people who are in need, but yet we go about our business and we eat our lunch and we go home and we come back that night. and we miss opportunities all around us to reach out and build a relationship with somebody else and to help them. And I think that's kind of what I'm looking for with these community leaders and trying to pull our leaders together to say, hey, if we ever want to make a change in Cherokee County, we're going to have to get our hands dirty and get down where these people are and get down there with them and help make a change in their life. Because if we can help change their life, then we can change our community and we can change what's going on around us.
I have actually seen some of the homeless in the area.
Right.
Because, they don't stay there at the homeless shelter during the day.
Right.
They go out and I had never realized
Right.
that these people were around.
Yeah.
So
they're becoming more and more. And I noticed, I think it was one day this week, I went to Walmart and I went down there and I noticed, like, just there at Walmart, there was like 3 different people with signs and needing money and food and,
Right.
and those type of things. And there was just one location. And not to count the people who are living in tents on people's properties, who's living in their cars, who's living under bridges, who are living in these different places. And we drive up and down the 4 lanes and drive over these bridges and never really stop to think about and consider who might be living under it, And so we have to look for real solutions to help people. The thing goes back to, and the thing I keep reminding people of this, is that when you take those kind of endeavors and you reach out to try to invest in people and try to build relationships and offer things to people and help people, is a reminder that there will be people who will take advantage of you. There will be people who try to get what they can get off of you. There will be people who have no intentions to be clean and sober, have no intentions to change their life, but they just want to see what they can steal off of you. They want to see what they can get for free. We do know that that's a reality. That's part of it. But we can't dwell on those that might take advantage of us. We have to look at those who we can actually help and who can make a difference in their life. And like I say, you can go back to get all kind of biblical principles for all this stuff. But one of the biblical principles on that is, when the Bible says shake the dust off your feet and go on to somebody else, So when you have those bad experiences and you try to help somebody that don't want the help, then shake the dust off your feet and go on to somebody else. And I think that's kind of the attitude that we have to have if we're ever going to see a change in our community. And I think, we live in a great place. I don't want to paint this picture that we're just drug infested, homeless, destitute, that's not what we are here. I mean, we have great people, we have great communities, and we live in a great place. And I've been all over the world, and I hadn't found another place yet where I'd rather live. I'd rather be right here. But we also have to face the realities of what's around us also, and understand the fact of that if we don't open our eyes and see the bad things that are around us and see what's going on around us, it will just continue to grow and get worse.
The pastor of First Baptist has a program every Monday through Friday.
Right.
And he calls it loving people to Jesus.
Right.
And that's the key core.
It is.
It is. That's the whole idea. That's what Jesus said.
And the thing about it is, if you look at the addicted community and you look at those that's addicted to drugs and alcohol, and your view of those people are, you made your own choices, you made your own mistakes, you don't deserve anything, all you deserve is to go to jail, then we're not going to make any changes. Things are just going to remain the way they are. But a lot of these people, most of these people, and I know I get people put their eyebrows together when I say this a lot of times, but it's true. Most of these people that are addicted to drugs and alcohol are not bad people. They're not in their heart and in their core a bad person that's evil that wants to hurt people and do this. Some are, but most of them aren't. Most of them are people who either had legitimate pains, accidents, surgeries, those type of things, legitimately. Yeah. A lot of people don't realize this, but 21 days of opioids, pain medicine, prescribed by a doctor, 21 consecutive days, and you're addicted to it. And a lot of people don't realize that. And so a lot of people start out legitimately with a legitimate pain, legitimate accident, whatever it may be, and get started on this stuff, and before they know it, it spirals out of control until they find themselves on the street buying illegal narcotics from somebody else, And then if they don't get a grip on it, then it goes on down the road. They've lost their business, they've lost their home, lost their family, lost all these things. And they didn't set out to do that. They're not a bad person. It's because of circumstances and choices that's led to that point. And what we find a lot of times is that it is just a series of circumstances. It's a series of choices that gets people into those places. So if we don't invest in these people and help them get back from those places and help them get back on their feet and make a difference in their life, then I contend we're just as guilty as they are, for the drug problems and the drug uses, because we're telling them that we don't want to help them, that we want you to continue in the life that you're living. So if we tell them we want you to continue in the life you're living, the life they're living is using drugs and breaking into stuff. And so if that's what we're telling them that we want them to be and what we want them to do, then we're part of the problem also. And so until we change our mindset about this and get a different attitude, we're part of the problem also with these people. Just a few minutes. I know we're about time already, but just a few minutes before we go, I want to mention again, I'm going to try to mention this probably every week between now and August, is about the eclipse and what to expect. And the simple fact of the matter is we don't know what to expect.
There's going to be a lot of people.
A lot of people. We know there's going to be a lot of people. We just don't know how many is a lot of people. Exactly. So, but the numbers that we keep hearing and we're still hearing is, minimum, if it's just awful and everything falls apart and just a bad day and just can't see nothing, it's still probably 20 to 30,000 people. If it's a good day, perfect weather, great stuff, probably more up 50, 60,000 people. And so those are the numbers that we keep hearing. Every time me and Robin Caldwell go to a meeting, we keep crossing our fingers hoping those numbers are coming down, but they're not. We keep hearing those same numbers. They keep hearing the same.
I'm probably going to spend the night here.
Yeah, probably. I'm sure I won't work for about 5 days, but I won't go home for about 5 days. Exactly. I'll be working. But but the fact of the matter is we don't know what to expect. And the thing I keep reminding people, and I was reminding some of our officers last night, is the fact of that it's really irrelevant whether we get 30,000 people or 300,000. That we can only handle so much. The roads can only hold so much. There's only so many parking places, True. And so it's really irrelevant on that final number as to how many come. It's just going to be a lot of people. So one thing that we do know is the commission board, we had a conversation with them. All likelihood, they still have to vote on it, make it official, but all likelihood is they will close county offices that day, where we won't have county offices open. I know schools will postpone school till later in the week before they open. I know the Superior Court judges who were supposed to have court here that week of August 21st, have canceled court for the day, at least for that day. And so pretty much everything's going to shut down for the event. You'll still have your restaurants. You'll still have business, gas stations, business people, that will want to stay open because that'll be profit for them. But for people, what we're trying to get people to understand is, please, I know a lot of people want to go to the events and go to Conita Park and go to the park in Andrews and do these things, but I think what's going to happen is when you drive out your driveway and you see the traffic on the road, most people's going to turn around and go back home. And that's really probably the place we need to be, is home, if we don't need to be out there, for a couple different reasons. One is not just contributing to the traffic. I mean, that it's going to be there regardless whether you're at home or not. But the problem is, with so many people in the area, they're going to be looking for places to park. They're going to be looking for fields to get in. They're going to be looking at this. So what I encourage people to do is, if you can be at home, try to stay at home. Because unfortunately there are bad people out there that wants to look for opportunities to break into houses and steal things and to do this kind of stuff. And with that kind of traffic and that kind of congestion, I think a lot of people, for nefarious reasons, will look for opportunities to break into houses and look for opportunities to steal stuff and those kind of things. So the more people that can be home to kind of watch over their property and protect their property, I think the better off we will be. And so that's one reason for that. The other thing is that we're trying to make plans. We're going to unveil our plan later as to exactly what we're going to do. We don't want to tell you everything we're going to do and what resources we have, because that would just not be smart for us to do from law enforcement. But I will tell you that one of the things that we are going to do is we've canceled all leave from the Monday before till after the event. And so basically everybody we have with a badge and a gun is going to be working for the weekend and for the event. We're going to play that by ear and watch kind of as traffic picks up and as it gets thicker. Once the traffic starts getting thicker and officers are having trouble responding to calls, then we'll start calling more and more people in until we have everybody we have working. We'll actually take our officers and assign them to different communities throughout the county, where you have officers assigned to each community and in that community 24 hours a day. So if you have a problem, if you have a break and enter, and if you have things that's happening that you need officer response, he's not having to navigate through all this traffic across the county, but he'll already be in your community. So we're trying to make plans for that and try to figure out what to do to make sure that we can still respond to things. And I know the medics are doing the same type of thing, spreading their ambulances around throughout the county, everybody working kind of to where they can at least try to get to a place if they need to. Hospitals are preparing. I mean, everybody's preparing for this, and honestly, I hate to say it, but it's true. We're preparing as if it's a disaster. Basically, our disaster preparedness or disaster drill plans is kind of what we're putting into effect, and we're treating it as such. And I know from the TDA community and from the realtors and chambers of commerce and all those kind of things, I know they're real excited, and they're all trying to get as many people as they can to come and build up the economy and sell things, and that's great. But
I already got my glass.
But from our end, it's kind of a nightmare from our end, because we still have to respond to things. We still have to protect the people, and so even though we have all kind of things you have to prepare for, from terrorist events to just your heart attack, somebody having a heart attack on the side of the road, we have to prepare for everything in between, from mass shooters to whatever. We still want to try to be there as much as we can to protect our citizens and those that live here that's still going to be here after the event's over.
Right,
So those are the kind of the ones that we're concerned about, that we're really trying to prepare for, to try to take care of. And because these 20, 30, 40, 50, however many thousand people that's coming, once the event's over with and days after that, they're going to go back to their homes and leave the area. But our people are still going to be here, so we need to try to do what we can to protect our people.
Very true.
Yep. And I know we're about out of time, so that's
about out of time. Yeah, you're overtime.
See, that's not as long as me and Tim go. Me and Tim usually goes about 40 minutes or 45 sometimes.
Yeah, well, it's 36 after that.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. Thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
All right, let's take a look at the weather, brought to you by Carpet Mart.
From the WKRK